Hello, Buddha.
Come forth in peace, young traveler.
I've come to learn.
There is so much to learn about. What is it specifically that you wish to know?
I wish to learn about the Guggenheim in Bilbao.
What a very beautiful work. You will be enlightened, young student. We're here in the Guggenheim, in Carlos's mind, reflecting on the Guggenheim Bilbao. Now, talking about the exterior of this magnificent piece of architecture, you have a massive undulating facade of titanium and glass. This use of titanium and glass allows for an impressive display of a coupling with heavy materials and light materials, making the building appear weightless. Similar to other works such as the Hagia Sophia that we saw in Content Area 3. Furthermore, this undulating facade reaches its peak at the very top of the building with some organic forms that are referred to as the metallic flower. Besides this, the form of the building perfectly couples with the river that bisects the city of Bilbao that is nearby. Moving to the interior of the building itself is composed of a plethora of galleries, all centered around an atrium. Now this atrium serves as a pseudo-axis for the building.
The axis is similar to how in Lakshmana, it is the axis mundi of their world.
Yes, Carlos. And remember that the axis mundi refers to the cosmic tree that links heaven and earth. But in this case, the Guggenheim Bilbao is a secular building, but it is an ode to previous artworks. Expanding further upon the central atrium, it is multi-storied and serves as the junction for various galleries, including one interesting gallery that is known as the boat gallery, which is in the shape of a fish, and it perfectly curves with the river that bisects the city of Bilbao.
Would you say that all these natural aspects that the Guggenheim has provides it to be a different kind of building?
It does. It's revolutionary. Actually, how it was built using computer technology, but I seem to forget the specific.
Oh, I think I know the computer technology that they use. They use the aeronautical system CATIA or CATIA that allowed Frank Gehry to design the building and assist himself during construction.
What an intelligent student you are, Carlos. Even the Buddha did not know that. Expanding more on the interior of this building, there are, as I said before, many galleries. Besides this, there are various tourist destinations and restaurants, which relates to the function of the building itself being a museum. Because the museum in New York, the Guggenheim in New York, was deemed too small, this building was made as part of an international project to have the biggest building possible to display contemporary art. Now, Carlos, is there anything you would like to add relating to the function?
Well, I feel that since the Guggenheim Bilbao is quite a large building, it allows artists to display their artworks either on a large scale or for contemporary uses, or if they want to display a more personal and small artwork, they can invite a couple of their friends or associates to go visit their artworks and have a more sincere and visitation with their more smaller artworks. Thank you, Buddha.
Now that we've discussed the form and the function of this building, let us now discuss the context behind this building. This building was designed by Frank Gehry, a Canadian-born, then turned American, who was an extremely important architect of his time. When he saw Chartres as a young adult, he was inspired to become an architect, and then later on in his life, he was extremely inspired by Frank Lloyd Wright, and he made it a personal goal of his to eclipse Frank Lloyd Wright. Besides this, he was also heavily inspired by Italian Baroque architecture, and that's very visible in his design. What was very impactful about the Guggenheim is that it was praised by Philip Johnson, the creator of the Seagram building, as one of the greatest works of architecture in human history, and he was brought to tears by its beauty. Besides this, the Guggenheim also was a pioneer in the style known as Hygierism, which was essentially a rejection of the past techniques of the classical era, the neoclassical era, the international style, and postmodernism. So essentially, the Guggenheim rejects all of those and seeks to bring the liveliness that is the human psyche into the equation when constructing architecture, which is very revolutionary for its time. And this style of Hygierism served as the model for contemporary architecture. Carlos, upon viewing the inside of this building, what comes to your mind regarding the content?
Well, I feel like when you visit the Guggenheim Bilbao, you don't feel very overwhelmed by all the different kinds of architecture. You're very soothed by the curvilinear lines and the whole open effect and the light encroaching inside the Guggenheim. You feel very at home and welcome. This allows the artist to feel at home when presenting their artworks to fellow artists.
Also, something that did you notice, Carlos, the location of this museum in Bilbao?
Why, of course, it's near the newer district. It's forgetting its industrial past and getting to the more commercial side of Bilbao, the more popular side.
Yes, and that was actually the goal of the Spanish government in commissioning this, to revitalize Bilbao and to make it an urban center and a symbol of prosperity for the new Spanish government.
Well, I think they very much did.
I think they did a well job. So, Carlos, knowing what you know about the Guggenheim Bilbao and the other artworks on the image set, are there any connections that are obvious to you?
Well, first I'd connect the Guggenheim Bilbao to St. Lazare Station because both of these represent urbanization and industrialization of their respective towns. Secondary, I'm going to compare the Guggenheim Bilbao to three artworks: the Silla Crown, the Borobudur, and Lakshmana, because all share a aspect of Axis Mundi, which is the world tree. Then, following that, I'd compare the architecture of the Guggenheim Bilbao to San Carlo, because both have curvilinear undulations. And finally, I'd compare the Guggenheim Bilbao to the Hagia Sophia, because both use light in a way to make both buildings seem weightless.
You have been enlightened, my child.
The Guggenheim Bilbao is an exquisite example of contemporary art. It rejects the rectilinear lines of the neoclassical style. An example of the neoclassical style would be Monticello by President Thomas Jefferson. The Guggenheim Bilbao also rejects the purely utilitarian design of the international style, an example being Villa Savoy by Le Corbusier. The Guggenheim Bilbao also rejects the external decorations that were present during postmodernism. An example would be the house in Newcastle County by Robert Venturi. All this rejection represents the transcendence of style that was occurring during this time period. The Guggenheim Bilbao should be and is an image set artwork because of its new style, the Hygierism style, which is now accepted as the standard for all architecture in the 21st century. And this Hygierism, it represents the natural aspect of humans in architecture. Now that Buddha has enlightened me, I have become the Buddha.